2 days ago, the dreaded Battle of Stalingrad came to an end as German forces surrendered to Soviet counterattacks. Over 91,000 German men were captured, and hundreds of thousands more were killed during about 6 months of fighting in the city. In 1941, German forces launched an attack into Soviet soil. Despite signing the German-Soviet non-aggression pact 2 years earlier, Germany began to feel threatened by the Soviet Union, which had earlier occupied nations within the Baltic states. With Soviet forces in proximity to German oil fields, an attack on a formula neutral country was planned for June of 1941. Soon, a nearly 3 million man offensive was launched from the Baltic states and Ukraine, surpassing the Soviets along a 1,800-mile front. Millions of Soviet forces were caught off guard as massive encircling movements cut off entire divisions of soldiers. However, as the winter set in, ill-prepared German forces faced the largest casualties it had seen throughout the war. Soviet counter-resistance ensued, and the campaign was pushed back. Later that year, German forces changed their targets and advanced toward the Soviet city of Stalingrad, an important industrial center for the ever-growing country, as well as holding the namesake of leader Joseph Stalin. For these reasons, the city was valuable for morale and for the war effort. At first, Soviet forces held off German Wehrmacht divisions just north of the city, as Juncker's 87 bombers conducted numerous airstrikes over the populated buildings. A few days after August 23rd, German forces, including some of the finest German troops under Friedrich Paulus, reached the Volga River in Stalingrad. Fierce fighting ensued as brutal skirmishes between small groups of soldiers occurred from house to house. Along with German troops, Italian, Romanian, and Hungarian forces fought against fierce Soviet soldiers. Stalin's orders of "not a step back" were promptly obeyed, with tens of men often dying for control of a single building. Similar orders from Hitler led to devastating losses of soldiers from both nations. Civilians as well were in the midst of fighting. Many civilians who had lived in the city stayed, even as it was reduced to rubble. As fighting continued, able-bodied civilians took up in defending the city themselves, taking up arms against German invaders and digging trenches. By November, Soviet forces began to surround the city, and under Russian generals Georgy Zhukov and Alexander Volensky, a counterattack warfare was organized. Both armies were poorly supplied, and as winter approached, many soldiers were left without food or proper shelter from the biting cold. As soldiers on both sides ran out of ammunition, surrounding objects were often used in brutal close-quarters combat. As winter and Russian forces set in around the city, German troops began to starve and die of the cold. Furthermore, efforts from other German armies to save them had failed, and efforts from the Luftwaffe to supply soldiers with needed supplies did not deliver enough. Soviet generals, knowing that the Germans would not be able to hold out in the city, began to close on January 10 under Operation Ring. On February 2nd, German General Friedrich Paulus agreed to surrender. 91,000 Axis forces were captured by Russian forces. Nearly 800,000 Axis casualties are estimated, and over 1 million casualties in the Red Army. In addition, 40,000 civilians are estimated to have died. The war goes on, ladies and gentlemen. God bless the United States of America, and good night.